what is the best entry-level supercar? Something below 100 grand.
100 grand. Are you more concerned about the value retention? Are you concerned about the drive of it or the looks? What's more important for you?
Hi, can I get £100 in the...
Yes,
Thank you.
Shut up.
You what? You what, mate? And today we are going to be answering questions about what are the best supercars to buy in 2023.
What's going to be hot property? I think everyone is going to know this one, but the Revuelto. But we're getting people offering us £150,000 over list to secure a slot. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the GVE London Podcast, and today we are doing it from the GVE London and 1016 Lamborghini Urus. I have George with me today. Hi George.
How's it going?
Awesome. And today we are going to be answering questions about what are the best supercars to buy in 2023. So George, that is such a vague question to answer, right? But if we break it down into 5 segments, I think it'd be a lot easier to describe. So number 1, what is the best car, a supercar to go into from an investment perspective for 2023?
It's a good question actually, because it's a funny time in the market. I think ever since post-COVID, so let's say 2020 onwards, the market's just been booming. Sales have been booming and prices have been going up because of shortage of new cars, but we finally now hit that point in the market in 23 where there's almost a correction and almost everything's sort of catching up with itself, and it doesn't help that the recession's in place. So any car that's holding its value really well now, or any car that's still selling well, is seen to be a real and true future investment. So a car that's selling well this year, I'd say anything V12 is still doing really well. Something like the F12s and the 812s are probably slower sellers than the likes of the Aventador. Hurricanes.
Why are the F12s and the 812s slower sellers than the Aventador?
I think it comes down to pricing. So I mean, the F12, they reached down to an all-time low of about 130 4 years ago, and then suddenly they just jumped back up after COVID. So now let's say something that would have cost 130 pre-2019 is now costing you 160. So we had an F12 in that we sold maybe about 4 times. It was actually Frank Lampard's car, and
the grey one, right?
Yeah. We sold it for 150-ish at one point, and the market's now jumped back up and it's now going for just under 180, 175.
Wow.
So I mean, yes, if you look at the market, it's holding its money, but it's a bit of a slower seller. There's not many people out there who are like, yes, I want to get that car right now.
After an F12 versus a Aventador.
Yeah, so this is where it's pretty cool, because the Aventador has a much wider market. The Aventador is a car that not only your investor or collector wants to buy, but it's also a car that does really well with someone who's entering into the supercar field, or someone who wants a real statement car. I mean, in my opinion, I think the Aventador is the king of the road when it comes to supercars. So there's always a massive market for it, meaning that it's not just your collectors and investors buying it. There's always customers after a car like that. So they do sell much quicker.
You need to just drive really fast and get your reaction. Yeah. That's the reaction. You what? You what, mate? I do kind of understand the whole F12 versus Aventador thing, to be honest with you. I think, you know, when I done some of that catering racing, the instructor that I had, who's a Ferrari instructor, turned around and said the F12 is one of the best cars he's ever driven. It's the only supercar that he'd driven at that point that made him feel like he's about to die.
That's pretty insane, considering that the caterings had no stability controls or no assistance.
Yeah, but it's just the power in the F12, right? But the key thing is, he loved that car so much, and then I met him recently at Goodwood and he was like, no, Aventador all day long.
No way.
Yeah, so he it flipped his mind completely.
What, for the drive or for
yeah, so
how it makes him feel?
That's That's the thing. Previously, it was just, I would love an F12 that drives like nothing I've ever driven before. Now, I'd actually take an Aventador over the F12 because of the driving is one thing, but the way it makes them feel, the looks, all of that, the styling, I think Aventador has to win.
It's so funny you say that because every time we ever sell an Aventador and you speak to them, and if they've had a Ferrari in the past, they always say nothing beats an Aventador. The drive is probably one of the worst drives you can get in a supercar, but it's just that whole sense of occasion every time you step inside it. It makes you feel like you're in something super special, heads are turning everywhere you look. I mean, almost similar to this. Like, this is a Lambo, but not your typical Lambo, but with a 1016 kit on this.
Yeah.
Surely you have loads of people looking at you.
I get, yeah, I mean, look,
marriage proposals.
Marriage proposals, yeah, you know. Okay, do you know what? Better not say that, I'm going to get in trouble. But anyway. Alright, no marriage proposals. I have never had a marriage proposal on this car. However, whenever I drive this, I do get a lot of people looking at the car for sure, especially with this body kit, especially with the colour that it is. But one thing I'd say is when the Urus was black,
yeah,
I would probably go as far as saying 50% less attention.
No way.
When it was black. And that was nice black as well, it was stealth.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, just no way near as much attention when it's got a nice wrap like this and the body kit and this and that.
But how does that make you feel? So I know you're used to supercars, you've pretty much driven everything out there, but when you have a supercar, you sort of want it to make you feel special, right?
Yeah, for sure. Look, some people don't want the attention. You know how many customers we've got. They're like, oh, do you know what? I can't deal with all that attention, right? And so they don't mind putting their Urus in black and then just, you know, incognito.
They say that, but deep down, you don't buy a Lambo to be incognito.
Yeah, you're right. So they've something's conflicting in their brain, right? They're like, I want to try and stay sensible, but at the same time, I want to be mad whenever I want to.
Yeah, you have the option of turning it into a supercar and driving like a absolute nutter.
You know I don't. So yeah, I'll leave that for you. Okay, next question. What, on the opposite end, what is the best entry-level supercar?
Something below 100 grand. I mean, there's different, it comes down to the criteria of what the customer's after. So let's say it's you and you want to get a supercar for under 100 grand. Are you more concerned about value retention? Are you concerned about the drive of it or the looks? What's more important for you?
Look, it's 2023. Interest rates are really high. People are unsure about what values are going to do. So under 100 grand, I think the key thing that I want to know is that I'm not going to be losing a whole load of money given the amount of interest I'm going to be paying if I'm financing it.
And do you think you'll be driving it regularly?
I think this can be a weekend car.
Okay, and do you value the performance in a car, or would you value the value retention more than the performance?
So I would probably I would want a compromise.
Okay, something in the middle. So the only reason I was asking that was value retention and something that you use as a weekend car. You'd go for something a bit more of a modern classic, like a 430 or maybe a Lamborghini Gallardo, gated gearbox, one of the last manuals they did on a V10. But I don't think you'll have fun in it. If you want the performance as well, then what I would go for, something like a McLaren 570S.
Yeah.
I think that is so much car for the money. And when you drive that and you compare it to something like a 488, the performance difference in both of those cars is minimal. Especially on the road, you're driving on the UK roads, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
It's mainly about the handling and the performance. That car is insane. And value retention for the past 3 or 4 years, they haven't budged. And you can't really see that car fall anymore because
So
the
much,
cheapest,
so much car for the money.
And the cheapest McLaren at the moment is the MP412C, which we don't even sell anymore because they
So
just,
unreliable.
Really unreliable cars.
But so the 570s became a lot more reliable, right?
For sure, yeah. It's got upgraded Iris systems, got upgraded. It hasn't got the suspension, the adaptable suspension that you find in the Super Series. And just in general, the 570s are a more reliable, designed to be a daily driver supercar.
Competitor to the 911s.
911s and R8s and so on, yeah.
Right.
So yeah, 570 I would say, it's good.
Now, so on a similar note, what's a good car to buy that used to be a lot of money and now has depreciated a lot, so it's at really good value in 2023? So let's say, for example, something that was 250 grand when it came out brand new,
Yeah.
and now is a bargain at 130,000 pounds.
Okay. I would say, I feel like I should mix it up a bit, but honestly my head's just revolved around McLaren because
Really?
it's just some of these cars were worth so much brand new, and that's the number one example you'd give. That, let's say for example, a 720S which listed at close to 300,000 pounds brand new, you can now pick up with up to 10,000 miles on the clock for 130,000 pounds.
Yes,
that's less than
so
half the
much
price.
value for money.
Performance wise, it's one of the quickest cars out there. It's faster than the P1 in a straight line. It's like ridiculous car for money. So
I remember when we had the 675 LT, and you know, it broken so many records and this, that and the other when the 675 came out, right?
yeah,
And you know, the values for them were sky high. People were paying premiums for them and this, that and the other, right? And then the 720 came out,
yeah,
and suddenly people realize, like, why would I pay premiums for a 675 when, you know, the base model is matching it like for like, or even bettering it,
beating it.
certain.
But the thing is, the 720S is your run-of-the-mill supercar. Like, there's so many of them. That's where McLaren went wrong. They had car parks for the 720s, which is why they were giving 60 or 70 grand off them just to force sell them. Yeah,
that much.
But the 675s dropped at the time because performance-wise they weren't anywhere close to it. But now they've picked up again because your real purists who like track-focused cars actually say to date that the 675 LT is one of the best McLarens ever made, because it's one of the most connected cars that you can get as a driver. But yeah, bargain wise, I say 720. I have to stick to that. I think that's just so much car for your money.
All right, good. So it's 2023, you've got new models coming out. What would you say is the best model to be buying in 2023/2024?
Out of the new cars, once again, is it for value retention or is it for just what's going to be insane to buy?
What's going to be hot property? Like,
okay, hot property. I think everyone is going to know this one, but the Revo Alto.
really?
To replace the Aventador after a successful span of 13 years. So 2010, the very first ones came out. 2022, they stopped making the Ultimate. Yeah, the replacement for the Aventador is going to be one that takes the market by storm. So
do you think?
yeah, 100%. We're already
what's
getting
the list?
just over 500.
Come on, man.
But we're getting people offering us £150,000 over list to secure a slot. Yeah, we've got one coming in December and we've secured the slot for £100,000 over list. And there's that much demand behind it because the Aventador was such a successful car and they did so many different versions of it. To now say that that's come to an end and the replacements come in, it has to be something seriously
But do you
special.
reckon it's going to be a massive flurry at the start of cars going for premiums and then suddenly that all starts dying down?
I think so. I think that's going to be the case for a bit, but it could be hit and miss. It could be that as soon as they come out, the very first batch are going to be going for overs and then suddenly it falls. And then people realise how good of a car it is. This whole talk of hybrid cars aren't the future and it's not going to be great, but then they drive it and they see the reviews and they see it's one of the best cars out, they might jump back up. So the same thing happened with the Urus. Is that when they were released, they were selling really well, going for over list, and then they started dropping, and then all of a sudden, after everyone started saying how good they are and how good they drive, they jumped back up again, and the prices went up after a year. So I can see that happening with the Revo Alto. Yeah.
And but you know, the £500,000 mark, psychologically,
Yeah.
doesn't that mess with somebody's head? That shit, this is a successor to the Aventador.
Yeah.
The Aventador was 250 list,
Yeah.
right? And now,
Yeah.
yeah, well, the high spec 3,
Yeah.
and now I'm paying what, 50% more.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion,
Oh, sorry, not even 50% more. It's 100% more.
Yeah, close to 100% more. Yeah. In my opinion, I think inflation has something to do with that. I think in general, when you look at the price of these cars from list in comparison to what they were selling for 10 years ago, have gone up massively, and people have almost become accustomed to having to pay more for cars. I mean, finance is so readily available now for people to buy these cars. I don't think it's going to be an issue. I mean, even now we're finding that the market for £500,000 cars, £400,000 cars is so much bigger than it was 10 years ago, 8 years ago. There was very few people buying those cars back then than there is now. I think that's probably a more deeper conversation. There's probably a lot more money pumped into the system. There's more money going around. There's more people opening up businesses. So I think, yeah, there will definitely be a lot of people buying this. Guaranteed there's going to be a lot of Rebel Auto sales.
Cool. Okay, and then finally, what are all the footballers and celebs wanting to buy in 2023?
Purosangue.
Really?
Yeah.
And those are going for crazy overs, right?
Crazy over list. I mean, we're saying 150 on the Purosangue, on the Rebel Auto, but I'd say similar overs, even up to an extent of 200,000 over list on the right spec Purosangue. But
200 grand.
Has to be the V12.
So all in all, that will come up to how much?
Oh, well over £500,000.
Wow.
Well over £500,000.
And is it that much better than the Urus?
Let's see. I mean, when Ferrari released it, they haven't released it as an SUV. They said it's a super 4x4, as in like a super 4x4 chassis. Said Ferrari don't make SUVs. They don't want to rival it to the Urus.
Okay.
They want it to just basically be an FF on stilts. Wow. So it's going to be a completely different car to the Urus. You could have your typical Urus owner own a Purosangue alongside it and still have that much of a difference between them. Yeah.
I don't know. You know, honestly, I still prefer the looks of the Urus.
Yeah.
Fine, it's been out for a little while now. You know, people have become used to it, seeing it on the roads and whatnot, so it won't be as special as a Purosangue. But I still think if you can buy two of these for one of those, it doesn't make sense in my mind.
Yeah, I guess so. But maybe after driving the Purosangue, you might change your mind.
Really?
The reviews on them are insane. And styling as well. It's got the suicide doors. They come in a V12 and a V8, so the Uruses you can't get in a V12.
No.
And they only do
the V12 is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, they're going to sound crazy. It's only got a 2-seater in the back. Touch screen. It's completely different. So I think those will be quite cool.
All right, cool. So there you have it, guys. What supercars to buy in 2023. We hope you like the podcast. If you do, please like, subscribe and share. And until next time, see you later.